Welcome back to another console collector video.
Time for part 11.
Now we talk about the Game Boy's biggest competitor from the early 90s, the Sega Game Gear from 1991. Its original retail price was $149 US. Adjusted for inflation, that's $278 US. The Game Gear is an 8-bit handheld game console released by Sega in April 1991 in North America. The Game Gear mainly competed with Nintendo's Game Boy, Atari Lynx, and NEC's Turbo Express. It shares much of its hardware with the Master System. You can play Master System games through the Game Gear with the use of an adapter. The Game Gear uses its own Game Gear specific game cards similar to the Game Boy cartridges. Sega marketed the Game Gear, which had a full-color backlit screen with a landscape format, as a technologically superior handheld to the Game Boy, mainly through aggressive adverts and commercials. Sega does what Nintendo don't. Better technology doesn't always make you a winner, and the Game Gear, despite decent sales, was harshly criticized for its terrible battery life. It would drain 6 brand new AA batteries within a couple of hours of gameplay, while the Game Boy would last over 10 hours on a set of 4 AA batteries. The Game Gear did offer a rechargeable battery pack later on, but by then it was a little too late and the Game Boy was already dominating the handheld market. The Game Gear had great games like Mortal Kombat, Streets of Rage, and Gunstar Heroes released for it. The rarest game is Mega Man. The best seller was Sonic 2. Everybody that had a Game Gear had Sonic 2. And the last game released was Super Battle Tanks. So this is the Game Gear itself. You got yourself a D-pad, got a speaker, your 1 and 2 buttons, your start, nice big open screen, got your expansion port here, headphones, volume, AC adapter, and power. On the back, this is the battery compartment where you'd store 3 on each side. And then here is a Game Gear cartridge. It would slide in the top, power on, and you were good to go. The Game Gear was a great system. It definitely was better from a technological point from the Game Boy. But again, the battery life really was the nail in the coffin for the Game Gear. So that's going to wrap up the Sega Game Gear from 1991. Now for something a little less known, the Barcode Battler from 1991. Its original retail price was $29 US. Adjusted for inflation on today's market, that'd be $54 US. The Barcode Battler is a lesser known handheld gaming console released by Epochin in March 1991. The console, at release, was supplied with a number of cards, each which had a barcode. Upon starting the game, the player must swipe a barcode representing a player. The game uses barcodes to create a character for the player to use. Not all barcodes worked as players, instead some would represent enemies or power-ups. Because of the uniqueness of barcodes in daily life, players were encouraged to go beyond barcodes provided with the game itself and experiment to find their own barcode monsters and power-ups from everyday items like food and cleaning products. The Barcode Battler was very popular in Japan. However, outside Japan, it was a massive flop. It was all hyped up and sold in shops alongside the Game Boy and the Game Gear, to which it was a bore in comparison. The gameplay of the Barcode Battler was repetitive, featured no graphics, no sound effects, or controls, and it was quickly forgotten by the general gaming public. Later on, Nintendo tried the card scanning idea with the release of the Nintendo's e-reader for the Game Boy Advance, which suffered a similar fate in North America and flopped just like the Barcode Battler. So this is the Barcode Battler. Essentially, you got your action buttons here, you got a static image printed screen there, on, off, select, and set. So you take these cards here, like this, Honey Buns, Waste Doctor, Mushroom, rock candy, eagle eye, can opener, some pretty odd names. So you take your card here, like gummy bear, and you have the barcode here. Basically you would scan it in like an old debit card, and then it would pop up on the screen, a bunch of numbers. Yeah, it wasn't very fun. I had one of these as a kid. It was a very poor substitute to a Game Boy, I will tell you that much. And then there's your extra buttons back there. So yeah, Barcode Battler. A pretty awful handheld system from 1991. Next up, we scrape the bottom of the barrel, the infamous Tiger electronic handheld games. The original retail prices range from $20 to $30 US. Adjusted for inflation, that's $39 to $59 US. Tiger is most well known for their low-end handheld gaming systems with LCD screens. Each unit contains a fixed image printed onto a handheld that can be seen through the screen. Static images then light up individually in front of the background to represent characters and objects, similar to numbers on a digital clock. They started to gain momentum on the market in the early 90s. By mid-90s, they were everywhere. The market was saturated with these things. In addition to putting out some of its own games, Tiger was able to secure licenses from many of the day's top-selling companies to sell their own versions of games such as Street Fighter II, Sonic, and Castlevania. Even popular TV shows and movies ended up butchered on these systems, such as Full House, Dinosaurs, Jurassic Park, and even Power Rangers. Later, Tiger introduced what they called wrist games. These combined a digital watch with a scaled-down version of a Tiger handheld game. They also released the R-Zone, which was used with the same generic static image but displayed in red and black, and it's strapped to your head. So this here is the Power Rangers Tiger electronic game. As you can see, the artwork on it looks pretty epic. You get excited. Ooh, Power Rangers. You got your control pad here, kick and punch, call and morph. Then you got all your main buttons here, like on, off, start, sound. And then you can see it's a static image on the background there. And these things took 2 AA batteries. And this is Double Dragon. Now this one is from my childhood, so I've kept it in pretty good shape. Basically, you wanted to play a real video game, and then you got this. Yeah, it was no good. Let's fire this thing up so you guys can kind of see just how awful these are. So you're just this static image of this guy. They can punch, kick. You know, you ever seen a kick like that? Just gonna turn the sound on. If I can. Oh, I accidentally turned it off. The sound on these things is not good. And the buttons are not good because I keep turning it off. There we go. So here we go. I'm this Double Dragon guy. Defeated. Just running along here. Yeah, so this is a Tiger electronic handheld. Be thankful that you guys, or kids I guess these days, have smartphones and like even DS's and PS Vitas, because this is the kind of stuff that I grew up with until I got an original Game Boy. Yeah, not good. So that's the Tiger handheld electronic games from the early 90s. Now it's time to enter the R-Zone from 1995. Original retail price was $29 US. Adjusted for inflation, that's 48 bucks. Not an expensive console in this video. Crazy, I know. The R-Zone was a portable game console that was head-worn, and it was developed and manufactured by Tiger Electronics in 1995. The R-Zone was very unsuccessful and discontinued in 1997. The R-Zone marked Tiger Electronics' first multi-game entry into the portable electronic game market. The R-Zone unit consisted of a headset and a separate wired controller. The system was battery powered. Each game cartridge had its own LCD transparent display screen, which was projected onto a mirrored surface and held in front of the player's eye. It had a red color scheme that was believed to be designed to capitalize on the popular buzz for the Nintendo Virtual Boy at the time. The R-Zone is remembered for its terrible gameplay, causes eye strain and headaches within seconds of playing. The R-Zone used small red game carts and had a cheap feeling, poor quality controller. The R-Zone had a number of games on it, such as Batman Forever, Lost World, and even Mortal Kombat, and it ended up butchered on this console. So this is the R-Zone. You get this fancy head strap. There's the console itself. Inside there's the game cart, and this little thing here, this reflective piece, you would wear it like so, and you would see the game actually show up on this little screen here as it's strapped to your head. Maybe a little hard to understand how it works, that's why we got the sealed one in the back. Here's the controller. This thing feels like something you find at the dollar store. It's definitely not good. The cartridge came in these little protectors, and it has a little screen, static screen here. One thing I gotta give credit for is you could store your extra games in the controller like that. But the games themselves actually is this little red spot here, so you'd stick the game right in there. Got the Primal Rage. Enough of that. Let's actually look how it works. So imagine this is your head, and see it strapped to your head here, and you kind of look through this. It's kind of not great to understand being sealed in the package, but yeah, this is not a good console, despite how cool it looks on this guy's head. Now let's look at this kid. This kid's wearing it. This is how you play it. This is a sample of the graphics. It's basically like the Tiger handheld games. They're just like static images printed onto a screen. It's definitely not good. The one thing I have to say is this guy doesn't look too uncomfortable. You actually got to go kind of cross-eyed or close one eye and look at the image on that piece. It's terrible. That's the R-Zone from 1995. Next up is a unique and rare system, the Sega Nomad from 1995. Its original retail price was $179 US. Adjusted for inflation, that's $299. The Sega Genesis Nomad is a handheld game console released in North America in October 1995. The Nomad is a portable variation of Sega's home console, the Genesis. It plays Genesis carts, making the Nomad a portable Sega Genesis. Designed from the Megajet, a portable version of the home console designed for use on airline flights in Japan, the Nomad served to succeed the Game Gear, and it was the last handheld console released by Sega. In addition to functioning as a portable device, it was designed to be used with a television set via a video port. Released late in the Genesis era, the Nomad has a very short lifespan. Sold exclusively in North America, the Nomad never made an official release worldwide. Sega's focus on the Sega Saturn left the Nomad unsupported, and the handheld itself was incompatible with several Genesis peripherals, including the power base converter, the Sega CD, and even the 32X. So this is the Sega Nomad. As you can see, it's kind of got a slanted top here. So yeah, it's kind of on an angle. You got yourself your D-pad here. You got mode button, start. Nice image there of the Nomad, Genesis Nomad. Then you got 6 buttons, so it's the equivalent of a 6-button Genesis controller. You got your speaker, got volume here, headphone port here. You can actually plug a controller into it, so yes, you can use it as a Genesis. Got your brightness here. On the back, this is where the battery port would connect to hold the batteries. And then on top here, you got the DC out or in, the power, and then here's your AV out, where you can plug the AV cable from the Nomad to a TV. Then here's the cartridge slot, which they use a dust protector, so excellent. So you pop your copy of Maximum Carnage in there, and this is it. You were playing Genesis on the go. Again, just like most consoles from the 90s, the battery life on this was terrible. So yeah, you didn't get much play out of it. I personally, if I want to play on this thing, I just plug the AC adapter in to the wall, which kind of defeats the purpose, but that's that. That's the Sega Genesis Nomad from 1995. Now we have the Gamecom from 1997. The original retail price was $69 US. Adjusted for inflation, that's $108 US. The Gamecom is a handheld game console released by Tiger Electronics in August 1997. The first version of the Gamecom can be connected to a modem for internet connectivity, hence its name referencing the domain .com. It was the first video game console to include a touchscreen and the first handheld console to include internet connectivity. The Gamecom used small cartridges and displayed them on a subpar, monochrome, colorless style screen. Several popular titles made it onto the Gamecom, such as Resident Evil 2 and Mortal Kombat Trilogy. As you see, Resident Evil 2 here and Mortal Kombat Trilogy there. A smaller version of the Gamecom was released in mid-1999 called the Gamecom Pocket Pro. The Gamecom sold less than 300,000 units despite the small but decent library of games, and it was discontinued in 2000 due to poor sales. So this is the Gamecom unit itself. Here's your D-pad, you got your speaker, your face action buttons, power, menu, sound, pause. Your little stylus here would slide out like so, and you could use the touchscreen. It definitely was a little bit ahead of its time, so you got to give it some credit. On the top here, you've got the communication port, and then your AC adapter plug there. Here's a headphone jack. On the side, we've got contrast and volume. This thing took batteries for AA's. Now what's really unique about the Gamecom is it can actually have 2 cartridges in at the same time, and through the menus inside you could pick a game. So yeah, you have 2 cartridges and you can bounce between both of them through the menus inside. So that was a very unique feature. This is the cartridge here, very small. It's got an end label, smaller than a Game Boy cartridge. So that's the Gamecom from 1997. Alright, that's it for part 11. Stay tuned for part 12.